Hi. Hey. Hey. Anyway, we gonna see Murder Drones Season 2, my take by this guy. I will put his thing down below. But this is his take of Season 2, Episode 1. I'm ready. You know how much I love Murder Drones. And don't ask about my brother. My brother is something more today.
Bye. The camera fades from black to an image of Copper 9 from space. You can still see the yellow tendrils as Sin and Uzi and V and N all continue their battle on the surface below. And then the yellow light fades. Copper 9, even in its destroyed state, dies back down. All the destruction, all the terror, it all fades from view as our heroes claim victory. And from that, the camera pans up to the stars, only to pan back down and reveal V. It's been a few months since the conclusion of Season 1, and since then the characters have gotten pretty comfortable in their new lives. For example, V is out hunting alone in the dead of night. And as she navigates her way through the city, looking for anything, really, she stumbles across what looks to be an old radio station, hidden deep within the ruins of the city. Deciding to pursue a peculiar noise she hears in the distance, she makes her way cautiously through the dark hallways, past the frozen human skeletons and broken doors. A faint signal is drawing her in. Although V is no fool, she walks in with her machine guns ready. She sees something that shouldn't be possible. A faint signal coming from what should be a dead radio, pulsing with small blue light. She can barely make out the voice on the other end, but it's asking if anyone has survived the assault. As V inches closer, she doesn't notice a familiar face watching her from above. Jay glares down at her. Her body kind of warped. She's no longer the smooth, clean disassembly drone that we're used to. She looks rather ragged, and it, without a doubt, has to do with the fact that she's starving. Maybe, just maybe, she can get a little...
I thought robots can't starve, bro.
Nibble of V and get a little bit of her strength back. Elsewhere, N and Uzi are flying through the night sky joyfully. They're having so much fun, swooping around the trees, dodging obstacles. Uzi's laughter carries above the clouds, and through it all, it's very Treasure Planet-like, if you've seen that film. All the while, the Absolute Solver, which is waving in the wind behind them, remarks how little it cares about any of this. They encounter Thad and Lizzie, who are throwing rocks at windows of broken cars in what looks like a giant car lot. N takes a look at this abandoned car lot, and the camera pans back, only to reveal that this isn't a car lot, this is an abandoned highway, full of old rusty cars, full of human skeletons, and we can add a little bit of humor here. Let's add a Wienermobile or something like that. Something to, lighten up the environment. N, trying to impress Uzi, pulls out his rocket arm and fires a few rockets, destroying plenty of cars and windows, but also accidentally blowing up the bridge, which makes Thad and Lizzie fall. After catching them both, N, Uzi, Thad, and Lizzie all decide to chill on a nearby rooftop, similar to what we see at the conclusion of the series in the credits. Uzi finds herself staring up at the night sky, watching as some stars seem to glimmer in the distance. N notices and asks what she's looking at, and she gets flustered and says to stop trying to get in her head. Immediately after, the Absolute Solver admits that Uzi thinks you're cute when you're wondering how she feels. This prompts Uzi to grab her tail and try to yank it off, which the Absolute Solver responds with, "Ow, ow, please stop that, ow." N laughs while Lizzie rolls her eyes and pulls out her phone, texting V and asking where she is. Normally she would have been here by now. Thad wonders if she's contacting her murderous friend, and Lizzie says, "Everyone else I normally text is dead, Thad." V doesn't respond, and unknown to the others, it makes Lizzie start to worry. Back with V, she listens to the radio message and hears that it's coming from somewhere known as Helix 10. After listening for a moment, V finally recognizes the voice coming in through the other line. It's Jay. Suddenly, Jay reveals...
Jay! I don't know, Jay.
reveals herself and attacks, putting V on the run as the two murder drones crash through the building, destroying windows, firing bullets, flying through the snow, and in a nod to Pacific Rim, end up causing damage that ends in a slight tap to a desk that starts one of those ball toy things. V is eventually able to subdue Jay due to how weak Jay is, and we have a moment that's the reverse of Jay and V's final battle from the final episode, with V actually offering a hand to Jay. So, naturally, Jay reaches out and cuts her arm off before scrambling away into the cracks of the building before firing a missile back at her. Angrily grabbing her arm and reattaching it, V looks back at the destruction they caused and decides maybe it's best not to tell the others about the radio. After all, it had to have just been a trap set up by Jay, right?
Yeah.
Right? Taking out her phone, V opens her wings and makes her way towards the others, while irresponsibly texting while flying. Which, for a very, very split second of a frame, we can have the message, "Don't text and fly," flash on her, either her face screen or the phone itself. Back at the camp, N is letting Thad shoot Uzi's railgun at the tops of buildings. He's coaching him on how to have better aim, though Thad doesn't really seem to need much help. Kid's a natural, according to N. Uzi tries talking to Lizzie, but gets told to shut up, and does so, looking out over the city. She tells Lizzie she hopes no one else survived out there, and glares at the ground, which Lizzie notices and tries not to look at, before looking back at her phone and shuffling away. Finally, looking out over the city, Uzi spots V, and N and Thad wave her over. V lands and fist bumps Lizzie, but ignores everybody else. N obviously notices something's wrong and tries to pull V and Uzi aside, asking her what's going on. V brushes him off and tries to leave, but the Absolute Solver reveals that Jay ran into V. It can tell, and it motions to some damage that V hasn't fully recovered yet. The Absolute Solver then points out that based on how ineffective this damage is, it can tell that Jay is near starvation, and will shut down completely unless she is able to refuel. Uzi says good riddance, and it makes N and V a little nervous, though they can't really disagree. After all, Jay did ally with their absolute worst enemy. However, V notices that Uzi quickly recovers, and asks V where Jay went. Of course, V tries to brush it off again, and Uzi decides to press for answers. But V is steadfast. She refuses to say more, and, of course, N has to intervene, saying that they could always track her down on their own. Not like a starving disassembly drone could get very far anyway. Before the three can rejoin Thad and Lizzie, V remarks that they should just ask Uzi's mom for help, which sets Uzi off.
Bro, I forgot Uzi's mom.
Says she thought V said she trusted her finally, and V fires back that before Sin set up shop in her butt, as she says, referring to her tail, and everything was going fine. N tries to step in, but Uzi throws him aside with her power, her eyes glowing almost full yellow as V gets really freaked out and ready to take her down. Thad then steps in and shoots Uzi's tail off with precise aim. Remember, he's using a railgun, and he kills it. He knocks the tail clean off, cutting it away completely and causing the Absolute Solver to shut up, at least temporarily. V then backs off as N returns and hurriedly takes Uzi away, leaving V and the others just kind of awkwardly standing there, until V rudely excuses herself. Back at the Dorman's residence, Nori is working with Mr. Dorman on fixing a drone body for her out of spare parts that Uzi and N found. Heavy quotations. The result is a stitched
Uzi's mom is back. Let's go.
together drone body that has a patchwork vibe to it, not far off from Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Their work seems to be good for the most part. They can't quite get it to turn on yet, and Nori is kind of angry and tries to drown out Mr. Dorman's suggestions/ramblings by turning up her music. Overall, the project is far from completion, but at the very least, they're trying. Just then, N brings Uzi home in a panic, saying that she flipped out on V. Nori asks what else is new and has a good look at her. Nori recognizes that something's off about Uzi's code, but she decides to keep it to herself. Instead, restarting her daughter's systems and getting Uzi to reboot just as the Absolute Solver tail grows back out. As Nori and Uzi converse, the Absolute Solver scoops up a bow in the background and puts it on, much to N's shock, who removes it and burns it before Uzi and Nori see them. By the way, Uzi and Nori are talking about how Uzi has attitude problems, and Uzi's like, oh, I wonder where I got that from. And, classic teenage, my mom is terrible, angst stuff. Uzi then tries to blame what happened to V, or tries to put the blame for what happened on V herself, and how she still doesn't fully trust her. Not really, anyway. And Nori says teenage girls are like that. N tries to step in and suggest that V trusts Lizzie, so they could always just ask her if they really want to know what happened between V and J. Which Mr. Dorman remarks would be like asking a door what the weather's like. Turns out he means that in all seriousness and is all for asking Lizzie for help with finding out everything that happened between J and V. Meanwhile, V is texting Lizzie about how much she's worried about Uzi, which Lizzie responds by saying she's paranoid and tells her to shut up about it. V puts down her phone and leans back, asking Lizzie out loud, who turns out to be sitting back to back with her, why things can't just be normal for once. Lizzie cuts her off and tells her she's texting. V then gets another text from Lizzie saying that she needs to just cut loose and let Uzi and N do their own thing, unless she's still kind of interested in N. Lizzie hints at that.
Wait. I mean, like, I'm not lying, but I think they're matched a good couple. No lie, V and N. I think they're match up like a good couple. No lie. When I saw episode 5, bro. When I saw episode 5, that one scene when they're trying to grab the cup. No, bro, I didn't mean like that. They're trying to grab the cup, right? Like little sparks went to the cup, right? To the glass cup.
After looking into the snow for a moment, V sighs and says she's leaving, which Lizzie says, whatever, before watching her friend fly away. Thad returns and sees Lizzie staring after V, with a very worried look on her monitor. Thad asks if they should go after her, but Lizzie just picks up her phone again and says no. We cut back to ragged old Jay, tearing into a long-dead drone's empty body as her ragged form continues to overheat. Warnings are popping up all over her display screen, and she is hyperventilating like crazy. She stares at this rotted corpse in terror, trying to find something that can satiate her system as the Absolute Solver symbol starts to appear on her screen. She starts to shut down, but in a last-ditch effort, crawls her way back over to the repaired space pod, gets up into it, and hits the launch sequence. We then cut back to V, who's flying around the city again, this time obviously looking for any signs of Jay. We cut to her first-person point of view, and we can see a little prompt in the corner of the screen saying no disassembly drones in near proximity. We then cut back, watch V fly around a little bit more before stumbling across a trail of defaced corpses and the caved inside of the mountain of corpses from the pilot.
Wait,
Jay's been hard at work.
Jay?
She can tell, trying to find anything to eat, and it doesn't look like she's been successful. It's then V sees the ground shake just as the pod launches into the air. Uzi and End also see the pod launch as they are flying to try and reconnect with Lizzie and Thad, and both nod at one another before making their way straight towards it, beeline. They fly right at it as V is able to actually grab onto the side of the pod, barely holding on Wall-E style and trying to break her way in. This pod, whatever Jay has done to it, is juiced up, and it's not as easy to keep up with. Tearing into the side of the pod, V opens it up, ready for a fight, only to stop and watch, even as they enter the atmosphere. All she can do is stare at what she sees. No fight, no harsh words, nothing.
What?
Just whatever she was expecting. It definitely wasn't this. Soon enough, Uzi and N are able to barely catch up, grabbing onto one of the loose tendrils and clawing their way up the side. They join V, asking what's going on, even as their voices fade as they enter the void of space, and then they see what she's looking at. Within the pod, they see the lifeless corpse of Jay, lying alone, crumpled up on the side. It makes them all stop dead in their tracks. Even as the pod takes them further and further into orbit, they all just stare in silence. Sure, they didn't like Jay, and Jay was kind of a jerk. I mean, she did, as we saw in the original show, draw a sketch of herself in green pencil and leave it for N, only to tell him to off himself in the same drawing. Jay's not exactly a good person, but a fate like this? Jay's not exactly a good person, but a fate like green pencil and leave it for N, only to tell him to off himself in the same drawing. Jay's not exactly a good person, but to off himself in the same drawing. Jay's not exactly a good person, but a fate like this, starving to death, it's horrible. They watch as the pod fires its boosters, eventually letting it go as it sails away into space, the three of them watching it as they float into orbit. After a moment, Uzi sees V, unmoving and still staring after the pod, and ignores the Absolute Solver's silent text nagging. Instead of listening to the Absolute Solver, she decides to reach out and actually takes V's hand the same time N does. V snaps back to reality, looking back at them both in confusion before frowning and flying back to Copper 9. Uzi, in the silent void of space, yells, "Bite me," as N flies after V. N and V land, eventually, and N tries to calm V down, saying that Jay chose this, and they should finally let her go. V says that's not it, and N frustratedly asks what it is then. They beat Sin. They freed themselves. What is there to be afraid of anymore? V turns and says that could have been us, N. If we hadn't, N understands and quiets down. After a brief moment of contemplation, he mentions that it's all thanks to Uzi that they're still here. V looks down and remarks that Uzi is really trying to be her friend, despite everything that's happened, and she could use a little sympathy, a little bit of leeway even. After all, Uzi's the one that's got the absolute solver tail now. This is a rock. Not them.
Don't eat rocks, kids.
V smirks and gives N the smallest smile. Not agreeing to anything, but not protesting anything either. It's then that Uzi finally catches up and asks what that's all about. V folds her arms, but doesn't say anything. Uzi throws up her hands and says, "Whatever, come on, N." N leaves with her, but not before looking like he wants to say something else to V. Before he can open his mouth, Uzi calls him off again, and he decides to leave, leaving V alone in the woods, arms folded, wondering about everything that's happened. Later at Lizzie's house, she's texting V once more with a concerned look on her face. Lizzie isn't getting a response and jumps as the door suddenly opens, and what do you know? In walks V. Lizzie immediately drops her concern and pretends to not care, turning back to her phone as V walks in and hangs from the roof by her tail, sighing loudly. Lizzie asks if she had a long day or saw something crazy. V doesn't say a word. No sarcasm, no remarks, nothing. Lizzie puts her phone down and asks if V is okay. And the camera pans
like a good friend
to follow V's line of sight, staring up into the clouds outside. The camera then shoots out to the sky above, revealing, you guessed it, new landing pods on their way to Copper 9. And what do you know? The pilot of one of these pods is J. A different J, with half of her head missing, shadowed by a rugged-looking N. And that is my layout for a potential pilot for Season 2 of Murder Drones. Again,
thank you. Now, goodbye. Hi. Bye. Never see you. Summer's starting, so probably I won't make this video again. Miss me. Do not miss me. Whatever. Womp womp. Bye bye. Hi. Bye.